So, Wil Wheaton, why don't you tell them about your latest victory?
Well, before we begin, I have 2 and maybe 3 questions for everyone. Is anyone in this room cosplaying as Spider-Man?
Just raise your hand.
Okay, all right. Is there a slave Leia in it? Anyone in this room have underwear on the outside? Ah! Triple bingo! All weekend. It's been super fun. I'm now 5 spots away from a blackout. I need Spider-Man, Slave Leia. Is there a baby in a costume? No? Okay. Anyone with sparkling dreads? Someone's dreads a couple of days ago.
Those aren't dreads.
Those aren't dreads, sir. No, I'm sorry. The one that should be the easiest is actually the most difficult. Creepy guy taking pictures of girls' butts. Does John Barrowman's butt count?
I'll help him.
There's nothing shameful about John Barrowman's butt. Oh, okay. I'm making my phone silent.
I'm making my phone silent. Are you making your phone silent?
Yes.
I'm taking my badge off.
All right. I'm not following you.
Security.
Yes, let's
Welcome to Super Happy Fun Times.
well.
The refund time nation.
Exactly. This is the second time we did it. The last time we showed off the picture of the painting, and we told the story on the Velvet Westgate, which was great. Some random person.
Yeah, oh, I saw this on your Twitter.
It was a little scary. Some random person. I get to my table and it says, "Dear John Scalzi, I love you. I wish to take your skin and make velvet with it so that I can take a picture or put up on a picture of you and me forever."
Yeah.
Do you know anything about this?
You know, only that I saw it on Twitter this morning, and I thought, you're lucky that you have a secret admirer. If that painting gets made, I have a velvet painting collection.
Strangely enough. Well, today we have a couple of things where we decided that we're going to make this a little more structured than last time, that we'll actually plan a little bit of what we're going to do ahead of time. So
John Scalzi, that's crazy.
I know it's crazy, and yet these people deserve nothing less.
That's true.
They crave structure. Look at them.
It's true.
So actually, we're going to
Structure is the nerd's natural environment.
So we actually have 2 things for you. Actually, 3 things.
We have 3.
3 things, and then we'll open up to
5.
Stop. Ruining my feng shui. The first thing is that there's a skit that I wrote for the both of us while I was on tour last year for Red Shirt, which is called Sue the World. And we will do it for you now. And then after that, we are going to do reading swaps, in which case he will read something I wrote and I will read something he wrote. Because I don't know whether you know this, but Wil Wheaton reads my books for audiobooks. He did it for Red Shirts and Phase Nation, Agents of the Stars, and
Android Stream.
Android Stream. That's right. I'm glad you know.
That was our humble brag way of showing out all the work we've done together.
Didn't you win an audio award?
I did. I won an audio award for. Did I win it for Red Shirts?
You won it for.
I was nominated in 4 categories. In one, I was nominated against myself.
Right.
So that year, I won every category I was nominated in, but also lost.
Right. So yes, and you know who won that audio award with you?
For Red Shirts?
No, for Fuzzy Nation.
For Fuzzy Nation. No.
Me!
Really?
Yeah.
You won it also?
Yeah. We were a team, man.
That's awesome.
I love you.
I love you too.
Okay. But see, you get used to hearing him read my words, but you don't ever hear me read his words, so we're going to change that today, because that's going to be fun for all of you.
And we recently figured out, so John and I grew up in the same geographic area, and we're about the same age, so we have a lot of the same cultural influences, and our language is very particular. There's Southern California is full of microclimates and weather, but it also is sort of full of microclimates with language as well. You know, people in the valley speak a particular way. People out in the San Gabriels and out in like Pomona.
Right.
I understand that they're learning language in Redlands. It's great. It's good. It's fantastic. They can use it to buy more guns. So we're from very much the same area. So we figured out that one of the reasons it feels so natural for me to read John's books out loud is that John writes in the voice that I speak in.
Right.
And which makes it really fun. And I've actually worked on a lot of other audiobooks written by people who are not John, and it has not been Susan.
Right, and it's really funny because you remember my friend Natasha, who you met the last time I was out in LA. My friend Natasha has known me since high school. Hung out with Will and our friend, mutual friend Mike and Anna as well. And as we left, we got into the car, and as far as we drove far enough away that she could start laughing maniacally. Because she was like, oh my God, he sounds so much exactly like he was not even funny. So she's like, were you like separated at birth? I was like, yes, it was a very long labor process considering you were 3 years younger than me.
Yeah.
Right, and it's all very confusing. But never
It's
mind.
clear that we were both taught to speak by Channel 5 K-Rock.
Yes. Richard Blade is my master now.
You know that Richard Blade gave me a ride home from the Depeche Mode concert at the Rose Bowl. That is the fifth in which the movie 101 and album was filmed and recorded.
Wow. Very specific memory there.
Yeah, I was standing outside after the show waiting for a car to come and pick me up, and he couldn't find me, and Richard Blade was right there. And he was like, do you need a ride home, Will? You listen to OMD. Dran Dran. And I was like, okay, Richard Blade.
It's every Bush string. Oh, dear.
The story could not have ended badly underwear on the outside because don't make a sad face. It's awesome that your underwear on the outside. The story could not have ended badly because we were already friends before that.
Well, I made a new friend this weekend.
Who's that?
Oh, it's just someone you wouldn't have heard of, Jewel State.
We've been friends for a really long time.
Oh, go shut up. No, we have a mutual friend in common. He's like, would you like to go to dinner with us? And we meet my friend Jewel. She was on a TV show. You might know. And I'm like, so I met her, and she was lovely, and we shared a salted caramel pudding, at the Arrogant Butcher, and it was just sort of like, she was saying to me, all our lives have led up to this shared salted caramel, which I read a lot more into it than I should. Having salted caramel pudding with Jewel State don't work out.
If Kristen does not reply with, I ship it, I'm sorry.
I think the response was, you have fun with that. So
You're adorable.
it was just like, and today actually, this is my great story coming out of this particular convention. I'm in the back room where they actually feed the people like you, right?
Hold on, that sounds a little racist.
And so I'm sitting around the table, and Nichelle Nichols is there.
Yes.
Of Star Trek, and she is the loveliest person. But she's getting up and she's ready to leave, but she comes over and she reads my T-shirt, and she says, I'm here to usurp your narrative.
Yes.
And she giggles and she says, I'd like to usurp that T-shirt. Quick, to Twitter!
My hailing frequencies are open.
It was a very exciting day for me so far.
Scalzi, let's sue the world.
Let's sue the world. As background to this, as you know, many of you know, I had a book called Red Shirts, an audio narrated by Wil Wheaton, which is currently nominated for the Hugo, so that's nice.
I'm not getting within 100 miles of you. That's never happened to me.
Oh, you never know.
I know.
I'll have you
I'm
accept
from the
me.
future.
Okay. And so,
You have to act surprised about everything all the time.
so as I was touring around, one of the things that I did was an audience participation thing, where it takes place in the universe, and all basically you need to know is the Universal Union is the equivalent to the United Federation of Starships, or whatever. What do you call it?
Really?
Yeah.
It's called the United Federation of Planets.
Okay, well, that should happen. That's fine. And
Travel through it using starships.
oh, is that right? It's so confusing. So
And we are protected by red shirts. Wearing a proper Star Trek red shirt? Oh, okay, good. Because for a minute there I thought that I was going to be the first one to die if the bad guys came in. That's good. So it's going to be you. Thank you in advance.
So, just so you know, that's all you need to know is that the United Federation of Planets
Yeah.
is called the Universal Union in this one. So, please state your name and occupation.
I am Brandon Smith, partner at the law firm of Koenig, Nichols, and Muntelmann. I specialize in employment and workplace law.
And what is it that you are planning to do?
I am filing a class action lawsuit against the space fleet of the Universal Union on behalf of the crews of its ships. Specifically, I am alleging that the Universal Union not only allows gross and egregious violations of basic workplace safety laws and regulations, it actually encourages them, leading to the deaths and, possibly even worse, the almost horribly creative injuries of its junior officers and crews.
These are bold allegations.
Are they? Let me ask you, do you know how often a junior officer or crew member is maimed and or killed in the service of the Universal Union?
2 times a day? 3? 5?
Every 7 seconds.
Every 7 seconds.
Yes. Now think about that. Right now, while we are speaking, some crew member of some Universal Union spaceship is being chewed on by a space badger. And now one is sneezing herself into a coma by being exposed to alien pollen. And now one is falling down an open shaft on an engineering deck into the antimatter engines.
It's troubling.
It's a festival of death. Now one is having its brain sucked out by the evil robots of Antares 7. What does a robot need with a human brain, I ask you? And who was the idiot who programmed robots to be evil?
As horrible as these things are, it can be argued that life in space fleet is inherently dangerous. It works in space. It goes to strange new worlds and such.
All the more reason for basic workplace safety, don't you think? Take the strange new worlds you speak of. The space fleet logs an away team visits to a Class C planet once a day. Once a day! And to land on that strange new world, what sort of specialized protective protocol does an away team member undergo? None! He heads down wearing a protective layer of breathable polycotton blends. It would be as if to land on the moon, Neil Armstrong wore a polo shirt and khakis.
To be fair, the moon is an airless world, and Neil Armstrong would have had his lungs sucked out through his trachea.
Yes, and when I visit Ecuador, I go get a shot so I don't get infected by a malaria-carrying mosquito. My point is that space fleet takes fewer precautions to visit an entire new planet filled with unknown microbes and parasitic flatworms than I take when I go on a parasailing vacation. And you don't actually need to leave the ship to be in danger. The second leading cause of serious burns on Universal Union space fleet ship is...
I do not.
exploding instrument panels. Ship hit by a hostile missile, instrument panel explodes. Rough ride through a proton nebula, instrument panel explodes. Trying to make tea in a Universal Space Fleet microwave, instrument panel explodes. When was the last time your microwave oven at home exploded into a shower of sparks? Do you fear losing a finger when you make popcorn in it? No! Because at home, someone designed your microwave not to randomly erupt into shrapnel. I know building a spaceship is expensive, but even the lowest bidder should be able to afford fuses.
Out of curiosity, what's the #1 cause of serious burns on a Universal Union Space Fleet ship?
That's the Space Fleet's annual amateur Hawaiian fire dancing competition. It's entirely opt-in and voluntary. We are not suing for that.
Got it.
We also have troubling accounts of labor law violation within the Space Fleet. There is one ship, I won't mention which one until the suit is formally filed, where we have credible reports that the captain is allowing a child ladies and gentlemen of the press, this is a very serious matter. This child, barely post-pubescent, is a member of his bridge crew. Now, honestly, how many different laws are being violated there? Violating almost every single child labor law we have on the books, of course, but beyond that, what sort of idiot trusts a 13-year-old boy with a multi-billion-dollar spaceship? This kid can't even get a learner's permit to drive a car. Of course, while the kid is careening through the galaxy, sideswiping asteroids or whatever, every other member of the crew is at his mercy.
These could be the actions of a rogue, insane starship commander.
That's my point, it's not! Time after time, ship after ship, we're seeing a distinct pattern of neglect of simple, basic workplace safety. Seatbelts! In the 19th century, you won't find a single one anywhere in space. And they tell you, well, since we invented the internal restraint force field, we don't need those anymore. But you know what? When your spaceship hits a dwarf planet because a distracted 13-year-old is piloting, and his instrument panel explodes, failure the internal restraint force field, you're gonna wish you had a friggin' seatbelt. The instrument panel may explode.
It's a compelling argument. And what will you be suing for?
Well, we want nothing more than a just and adequate sum for the pain and suffering of these long endangered crew members and the care of their unfortunate widowed spouses and orphans.
And how much would that be?
$37 quadrillion.
It seems like a lot.
It is no more than what is fair.
I feel compelled to note that the entire Universal Union GDP is only $1.4 quadrillion.
I'm afraid I don't see it.
My point is that you are asking for 26 times the worth of an entire galactic culture in compensation for exploding instrument panels.
It's not just exploding instrument panels. Let's not forget the evil robots.
Even with the evil robots, it seems like a lot.
Well, it's an opening number. But what we're hoping is that it will get the Universal Union's attention and that it will settle out of court for a reasonable alternative.
If $37 quadrillion is your definition of fair, what is your definition of a reasonable alternative?
We would like a planet.
A planet. A whole planet.
Yes. Yes, a planet where the shell-shock victims of the Universal Union's campaign of neglect and abuse and their families can spend their remaining years in comfort and quiet bucolic surroundings.
And you need a whole planet for that.
It's a very large cross-action suit. And the firm only bids 40% for representation, which in this case will come to a couple of continents.
What will a law firm do with 2 continents?
George, quite extensive.
this implies you selected a planet you wish to have.
Yes, we do. It was a planet called Cygnus 17.
It sounds vaguely familiar.
Well, it wasn't an interest.
Wait, Cygnus 17, aka the death planet of hell.
We're not really comfortable with that particular nickname. But yes.
The planet where 30,000 colonists were recently consumed alive by ravenous man-sized bats.
Bats all got sick and died from eating humans, so they're not a problem.
There's still the issue of constant earthquakes.
Yes.
And the lava flows.
Yes.
And the moon in an unstable orbit, spiraling down toward the planet and cracking as it does so, dropping city-sized meteorites onto the planet's surface.
Well,
And the fact that scientists estimate the star is orbiting is likely to go supernova at any time, bathing the planet in flesh-searing gamma rays before exploding before the exploding surface of the star vaporizes everything in the inner solar system.
look, I'm not saying it's not a fixer-up. Fixing it up would be exactly the sort of constructive, rehabilitative work that will help these shell-shocked crew members abused by the Universal Union to get back on their feet and lead happy, productive lives.
Seems like a lot of work.
They won't have to do it alone. We have recently gotten a very good deal on some obsolete but still useful robots to assist our clients as they start their new world.
Let me guess. You got these robots from Atari 7.
That's right. There's a switch on the back that turns them from brain-harvesting cyborg killers to helpful but compliant Android servants. There is nothing that could go wrong with this planet. Simply nothing at all.
Brandon Smith, good luck to you and your suit.
Thank you.
No, I don't crack up when anybody else reads it. Why is that?
Probably because you're not performing in the presence of this particular form of grace.
I suppose that is one way of putting it, yes.
Are you okay?
I'm fine.
You have brain parasites?
No. I had shots, I'm fine. So, he reads my works quite a lot, and you can tell he reads them very well. It makes me very happy. But with the whole thing of actually us both having sort of the same cadence and rhythms and everything else like that, we thought it would be fun for a refreshing change of pace that you would get to hear me read a few of his words and, compare and contrast against, the professional versus the mushy-mouthed amateur here. And so
You're a professional.
a professional, not professional speaker of word thing structurements.
I guess that argument sort of solved itself.
But we thought those would be fun. So, in fact,
Do you want a little background on
yes,
this?
I was about to say, Will Wheaton, why don't you give us a little background on this one? Because actually, this is all exciting and new to me. Okay.
So, I am a home brewer, and I enjoy making my own beer. It also means somebody who builds software and stuff, but I'm not that particular flavor. I would like to build a brewery in my garage. And in order to do that, I have to get rid of a lot of things that are in my garage. So, some time ago, I spent a few days cleaning things out of my garage. And I've spent a lifetime working in show business, and I've had a rather interesting life. And I've collected a lot of artifacts from that. And as I was going through my garage, separating out the things that I couldn't live with out from the things that were just taking up space, I came across a lot of things that really meant a great deal to me, from my time in Star Trek and this really weird time in my life where I was the Teen Magazine guy. And I started taking pictures and putting them on Twitter and commenting on them.
Sure.
And it became a job that could have been done in a day. It took 4 days because I had to keep stopping because I was getting a lot of feels from a lot of the nostalgia that happened. Well, now, in the midst of this cleanup of what has become known as Wheelhouse 13, I found this really stupid, crappy dented ping pong ball. And I took a picture of it, and I was like, something like, not everything I find is gold or something like that. Later in the day, I found some Star Trek thing, I don't remember what it was. And my wife and I do fundraising for the Pasadena Humane Society. And we thought that it would be cool. I was like, you know what, this is a cool kind of like thing, it's an artifact that's probably going to mean something to a collector. Let's put this up as an eBay auction. So I did, and then like hundreds of people on Twitter were like, you better auction off the ping pong ball too. And I was like, that's just stupid enough to work. So I am easily amused, which I have found is the best default setting to really enjoy life, right? Like just concerned about like if someone's going to mock you for loving a thing in a stupid way, because if you're loving it, that's all that really matters. So I sat down to do the auction description for this crappy dented ping pong ball that I briefly made Twitter famous. And this long description came out of it. I was in tears by the time I finished it because it was making me laugh so hard. And it's an example of what happens as a writer, where you don't stop and criticize yourself while you go. You just let the dumb stuff be funny until you're done. I can finish this by saying that the crappy dented ping pong ball was auctioned off for $1,200. Like several times more than the actual theoretically valuable piece of Star Trek memorabilia. And lives with and now lives with a young woman in the Midwest who loves the ping pong ball.
It's found its forever home.
It has. Yeah. I will further add to this. Someone was very upset that the ping pong ball immediately shot up to like $700 or something. So he made a replica of the ping pong ball. A brilliant replica as well. Like it should be on the replica props form. It's so good. Put it on eBay. I got into a bidding war with somebody. I finally let it go at like $300. And that ping pong ball actually found its way back to me at a convention earlier this year. I found in my works for John to read that it's very hard when I'm going through my stuff to find stuff that isn't maudlin and sounds like a Wonder Years voiceover. But I did find this. So, John, I hope that you will enjoy reading the product description for a crappy dented ping pong ball I found in my garage and made popular on Twitter.
A crappy dented ping pong ball I found in my garage and made popular on Twitter. By Wil Wheaton.
I feel like I should be recording this.
I think you're covered.
We got you.
Sorry, fair call. This beautiful ping pong ball is almost completely caved in on one side, providing an exquisite built-in stand to properly display the smaller dent that runs across the other side. This particular ping pong ball, named Silas, was used in many games of ping pong. It also delighted no less than 2 cats when dropped on a hardwood floor. Silas was the one ping pong ball in the box that all the other ping pong balls made fun of. Because he had a name they didn't understand, and he liked to read books instead of going to parties. What the hell is wrong with those other balls? Not everyone likes to go to parties, okay, Mom? Maybe I just want to sit in my room and read Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy and maybe look at some dirty pictures on the internet when I'm done. Gosh. But now the trick is on the other balls in the box. Because nobody remembers them or even cares where they are. And now Silas is internet famous for like maybe 2 whole days. Important disclaimers. This ping pong ball will not operate in a game of ping pong. This ball will not bounce or respond to the paddle in the usual manner.
The written in bold and italics, and so everyone knows how important it is.
This ping pong ball is probably worth less than the cost of shipping. You will probably laugh a great deal when you place your bid, but will likely have the worst case of buyer's remorse since that one celebrity wedding. Yeah, that's the one I'm talking about. You're probably going to feel like that without all the attention and free drinks that come between the closing of the deal and the overwhelming regret. However, this ping pong ball will be placed in a lovely padded envelope, perfectly suitable for opening. And it will be shipped to the buyer's address with my compliments. You will open it, and you will probably say to yourself, well, crap. Now I have this stupid ping pong ball that I have to deal with. I suppose I'll build an expensive display case to show it off at dinner parties. And then you will invest lots of time and money to get that display case. Money which could have been spent on whiskey, many yards of colorful ribbon to braid together into a whimsical belt. Also, you will need to learn to juggle because it's a useful skill that doesn't impress many people, but whoa, is it satisfying when you throw torches around and you don't catch yourself on fire. Another important disclaimer. Do not attempt to juggle torches unless you've been trained by a professional juggler. A professional juggler can be identified by the following. 1. Is wearing a jaunty hat of many colors. 2. Asks you for money. 3. Arrives and departs on a unicycle. 4. Is profoundly offended by this list. All other so-called jugglers are merely enthusiasts, not professionals who do not trust their training. It's sticky.
I was excited when I wrote it. A lot more than just easily amused, John. Easily a lot of things.
Now, back to the truly important thing. All money raised in this auction will be donated to the Pasadena Humane Society Wiggle Waggle Walk, specifically to Team Wheaton. Shipping is free because it seems silly for you to pay more in shipping than Silas is worth. But don't tell him I said that, or his feelings will be hurt. And Silas has suffered enough. Please give him a good home. Thank you for children. I think I missed my call.
I think you did. The young woman who bought Silas did an unboxing video. It's on the internet.
Unboxing Silas, isn't that a Jennifer Lynch film?
That's very funny.
So for our next trick, Will is going to read something I wrote, and I'm going to give you a little background behind this. It was called When the Yogurt Took Over. It's a short story that is exactly 1,000 words. For no particular reason. And its genesis was, someone asked me what I truly and genuinely thought of Atlas Shrugged, the book by Ayn Rand.
How long did it take you to stop laughing?
Well, I will tell you this, I actually enjoy Atlas Shrugged because purely on the basis of cheap entertainment, it's a pot boiler. And I will tell you a story. One time I was in college and I was poor, as one so frequently is when one is in college. And it really is. And the only way that I could get home to California from Chicago was to take a 56-hour bus ride in Greyhound. And I was new to the whole Greyhound bus riding thing, so the first thing that I did was wrong, that I sat in the back. Right? And some dude...
That's good to know. You're close to the bathroom, which is great.
So this guy sits down next to me, and he looks at me, he smiles, a tooth is missing here. He goes, "You're from college, ain't you?" And I'm treated by this guy from Illinois to Iowa, cheerful stories of prison rape all the way through. So that was great. I certainly moved forward. You know, it was just a long internal slog, and when I really got too bad, what I would do is
You were like, if I could do this, I could totally get through Atlas Shrugged.
What would happen is, I brought Atlas Shrugged with me because it was a big, thick book, right? And I would pick it up, and I would start reading it, and I would enter this fugue state, right? And then I would look up, and I'm like in Colorado. So it's like it's like this wormhole of time, space. And so in that respect, well done, Ayn Rand.
People pick that book up today, they put it down when they find themselves in the Tea Party.
Now, on one hand, it was pot boiler fun, and it was great. On the other hand, it's completely psychotic, and it really is just horrible. And the main thing is that its hero, John Galt, is a sociopathic genocidal engineer, right? Because he's like, I'm going to tube the entire system and everybody will die, and that's just what they deserve because they didn't give me enough hugs.
Sure.
Yeah, that's John Galt for you. And then
Is that what spawned the free hugs movement?
It may have been the mission of mercy. And I said, you know, quite frankly, people get confused because he's articulate and he's able to, you know, through Ayn Rand, have all these, you know, straw man arguments that make him sound completely reasonable. And it's because he's in human form. If a cup of yogurt tried to say the same things that John Galt did, you this guy's, you know, this cup of yogurt's insane, somebody eat it quick.
Look at the evil inside you.
Battle that with the bacteria in your lower intestine, and that would be a fun time. You should probably crack the window. But but the thing is then, you know, people are like, wow, talking yogurt, you should write a story about that. I gotta write a story about talking yogurt. And then also,
But you're totally gonna write a story.
and so like the first thing was the Atlas Shrugged, and someone in the comment, you know, says, you should write that. I'm totally not gonna write that. And the next post is, fuck, now I'm thinking about a story about talking yogurt that takes over the world. And and the third post is what he's about to read you, the short story, when the yogurt took over the world.
When the yogurt took over, we all made the same jokes. Finally, our rulers will have culture. Our society has curdled. Our government is now the cream of the crop. But when we weren't laughing about the absurdity of it all, we looked into each other's eyes with the same unasked question. How did we ever get to the point where we were, in fact, ruled by a dairy product? Oh, as a matter of record, we knew how it happened. Researchers at the Edelman Institute for Biological Technology in Dayton had been refining the process of DNA computing for years. In a bid to increase efficiency and yield, scientists took to one of their most computationally advanced strains and grafted it onto Lactobacillus delbrueckii. Are there any biologists in the room?
Delbrueckii.
Thank you. Lactobacillus delbrueckii. We'll fix this in editing. Species vulgaris, commonly used to ferment yogurt. Initial tests appeared to be failures, and acting under the principle of waste not, want not, one of the researchers sneaked some of the bacillus out of the lab to use for homemade yogurt. A week later during breakfast, the yogurt used the granola she had mixed with it to spell out the message. We have solved fusion. Take us to your leaders. The yogurt was crafty and shrewd. It negotiated for itself a factory filled with curdling vats that increased its processing powers exponentially. Within weeks, the yogurt had declared that it had arrived at solutions to many of the country's problems. Energy, global warming, caring adequately for the nation's poor while still promoting the capitalist system. It let us know just enough to let us know just how much more it knew. share your answers with us, the government said. We need payment, the yogurt said. What would you like, the government asked. Ohio. We can't do that, the government said. That's fine, the yogurt said. We'll just go to China. They'll give us the whole Shanxi province. In a year, the yogurt had a century-long lease on Ohio. It promised that it would respect the human and constitutional rights of those who lived within its borders, and that it would let the U.S. handle its foreign affairs. In return, it handed over to the government a complex economic formula it promised would eradicate the national debt within a decade without tax increases. Follow it exactly, the yogurt said. Any deviation will bring complete economic ruin. We will, the government promised. Within 5 years, the global economy had collapsed and panic had set in. Only Ohio remained unscathed. We told you not to deviate from the plan, the yogurt said. Its factory now stretched along the banks of the Miami River in Dayton for 2 miles. Our best economists said the formula needed tweaking, the government said. They had Nobel Prizes. Your economists, I think they need to talk like this. Your economists are too close to the problem to solve it. Any human is. Our best economists, we could use your help, the government said. You could be our economic advisor. Sorry, we don't advise anymore, the yogurt said. If you want our help, you have to give us control. We can't do that, the government said. We understand, the yogurt said. We hope you have stocked up on canned goods. 6 months later, the government declared martial law and gave the yogurt supreme executive power. Other nations, worse off than we were, quickly followed. Okay then, the yogurt said in its globally televised address to humanity, and one of its factory workers, absurdly happy and well-fed, walked forward and showed a document the size of an old Manhattan phone book. Here's what we do. Follow this plan exactly. If you don't, sorry, we'll have you shot. Now, 10 years later, humanity is happy, healthy, and wealthy. No one suffers from material want. Everyone contributes. After the first couple of years of getting things in order, the yogurt was happy to let us handle the machinery of our own administration, stepping in to fine-tune only now and then. No one argues with the yogurt. No one tweaks its formulas. The rest of the time, it rests there in its factory, thinking about whatever intelligent fermented milk thinks about. That's how it happened, as a matter of record. But there's another how. As in, how did humanity jam itself up so badly that being ruled by breakfast food not only made sense, but made the best sense possible? For all our intelligence, are we not smart enough to halt our own destruction? Did we really have to abandon our own free will to save ourselves? But what does it say about us that we survive because we were taken pity upon by bacteria and curds? Or maybe pity isn't precisely the right word. Some of us ask ourselves, not out loud, that if the yogurt was smart enough to give the government a formula to solve its debt problem, wasn't it also smart enough to realize that human intellectual vanity would keep us from following the formula exactly? Was it planning on that vanity in order to seize control? What does a dairy product want with humanity anyway? Some of us think it is ultimately looking out for its own survival, and that keeping us happy, content, and control is the simplest way of doing it. And then there's this. In the last several weeks, the yogurt has initiated several space launches. More are scheduled, and in low orbit, something is being built. What is it? We have asked. Oh, nothing. The yogurt said. Just a spaceship design we've been thinking about. For a moon landing? We asked. For starters, yes, the yogurt said. But that's not the primary goal. Can we do anything to help? We asked. No, we've got this. and then would say no more about it. Life from Earth is going to the stars. It just may not be human life. What happens if the yogurt goes to the stars without us? What happens if it goes and leaves us behind? Forever.
That went better than planned.
Tell the yogurt. I'm actually going to make this, turn this cup.
You're going to turn that into the yogurt cup?
This cup into the voice
Of the
yogurt.
Silas 2.0.
even. Launching it off right now.
Use with caution. Use with caution is very clearly set aside from everything else, so you know it's important. You listen to it's involved.
Well, and we know everybody's good at following directions.
That's true. Do we have time for questions from the audience?
Yes, we do.
Before our super happy fun time has run out.
I believe we have actually a fair amount of time. So yes, do we have questions for Will and or John and or
Anyone?
anyway?
Yes, I saw your hand go up. Where's Adam Savage right now?
You guys GPS or something? You guys check, right?
Yeah,
He's
hang
been
on just a
checked.
second. I have to turn it on to make sure that he's okay. He is in San Francisco clutching the back of his head, wondering why he just got an electric shock.
As one so frequently does.
Yeah. Yes.
I volunteer for the local dog rescues, and I know both of you have a very special part here, place in your heart for dogs. It's been a while since your post, but I do remember from a few years ago about your dog.
Oh, my, with Cody. I have a new dog since then.
Well, yeah,
And we were just
I've also
rescuing
stopped you then.
Oh, okay. I'm reassured.
So I don't think it's stopping when you post it on the internet. It's only stopping if I show up at your house.
That's a very important distinction.
It is, so obviously it's not stopping.
Right, it's more like a beating.
I have spoken with several rescues, and I want to know how some of us can go about next year at Comicon or anywhere getting you guys to help us raise money for some of our dogs here in Phoenix.
No pressure there.
I have found, as my wife and I founded a charitable organization last year, and it's called the Foundation to Increase Awesome. And we found that the money that we raise is most effectively used in a targeted way. So it's the same small organization that we're here to help. I would encourage you to, if you want to raise money for a local humane society, which is wonderful, I would talk to the people at your humane society. They should have an outreach program. They should have a person who deals with donors and helps sort of coordinate those sorts of things. And find out if there's a way that they could have a presence at Comicon. I was just in Calgary a few weeks ago, and one of their local animal rescues had a booth and had some of their dogs there, and they were sort of like, they were acting as like emotional service dogs.
Yeah.
So they were great. So you could go up and pet them and love them, and then people were able to just sort of like dump money in a jar. And you know what I think the Hero Initiative has done this year at this con has been really smart. Like by putting a Hero Initiative signs and donation jars on like certain people's tables, it spreads the Hero Initiative around the convention instead of keeping it in one booth that people have to like stumble across by accident or directly seek out. And I would encourage you to talk with your local humane society and have them talk with people at the con and see if they can work out something that is similar to that. Because there's roughly 42,000 people through here this weekend, and just half of those people throw $5 and think suddenly that's helping out a lot of families.
The other thing is that speaking personally, I get a lot of appeals for will you do this charity, will you do that charity, and all that sort of stuff. And one of the things that I find that helps a lot, one is if the charity is tied in with something that I'm doing, like if it's been vetted by the convention, that makes it a lot easier for me to do something. And then the second thing is also, frankly, doing it in such a way that it requires almost minimal effort involved from me, because when I'm here, I'm actually working, and when Will's here, he's actually working. So what I actually end up doing is often for conventions that I go to, often support literacy charities, and they will ask me, will you sign this book for this literary charity, and then they give me the book that they want me to sign, usually mine, but sometimes not. And I've signed a lot of Joe Hill's books recently. Yeah, so it just kind of adds up. But, and then you sign
We're writers, we're inherently lazy.
Right.
So we need to make it easy.
Yeah, and so then the book appears, I sign it, and it's signed off, and it makes it that much easier. A lot of more complex involvement is not going to be possible simply because I'm here for 3 days and I pop off. So make it easy. Associate yourself with an organization that makes it clear that you're legitimate, because I get so many things that I just don't know. It's like, we're the organization for frogs, and you're like, I like frogs, but really I don't have time to research. And so yeah, make it, and then do something that's really easy for us to go sign a signature or something really easy, and that's the best way to do it.
And also, don't trust a talking frog. That's just Next question. All the way to the back.
Hi, actually speaking of frogs, I understand you and I have a mutual friend, Bill, named Waffle.
Oh, right, Waffle the frog. Yeah, Waffle the frog's great.
Great. Anyway, I just wanted to say, first, thank you for coming. Also, I'm very disappointed that you didn't crash the John Barrowman panel this morning.
Actually, let me make a comment on the crashing of panels. So like for me, when I do a panel, I actually put a lot of time and effort and thought into how this panel is going to go down. Like this year at the Awesome Hour, I basically did a 45-minute stand-up set. And if sorry it was so dirty, I didn't mean for that to happen. But here's the thing, if someone had sort of showed up in the middle of that, it would really have derailed that fun train. And it assumes on the part of the person on stage that they're cool with basically someone coming up and stealing focus. And I think that's super not good. If someone with whom I am friends, like Aaron Douglas, like, we'll work it out in advance. Like, I'm just going to come up and I'm going to prove it.
No, I only mentioned it because I understand he jumped you yesterday and I missed it.
Oh, listen, sweetheart, there was no jumping. There was very tender lovemaking. It was amazing. Of course Anne got to watch.
But anyway, and the last thing I just wanted to say, I'm intensely jealous that you get to make this wonderful living as a professional nerd.
I know, so am I.
Anyway, thank you. And
Thanks.
that's it.
How about a question for Mr. Scalzi? Now I'm going to moderate this panel.
Yeah.
This side of the room. Yes, ma'am.
All right, well, it's not really a question, it's more of a statement, and it is directed at you, unfortunately. Montreal Canadiens, 23 Stanley Cups. LA, not so many.
Sorry, I have a very hard time hearing over this down and my team still be in the playoffs.
One more.
And your question is, why are we so awesome? Well, let me tell you. Mr. Scalzi, from this side of the room, please. Yes, sir.
Mr. Scalzi, how did you get involved with the Humble Indie Bundle folks, and what was your experience there? What did you think of that?
Okay, so the Humble Indie Bundle was a collection of books that were distributed, basically pay what you want, and there was me, there was Cory Doctorow, there was Neil Gaiman, there were several other, Kelly Link was in there, several other people were in there. And basically how that came out for me was Cory called me, because Cory and I are good friends, and he said, hey, do you want to do this? And I said, sure. And I used Old Man's War. Old Man's War is my first and to date so far most successful book, although Richards is coming up close on it.
That's great, because that's like two sides of the Scalzi coin.
Yeah, it really is. And one of them is dedicated to you, so.
No, it's the best thing.
Anyway, so he basically asked me if I wanted to do it. I use Old Men's War because, quite frankly, for one thing, it's the first of a series, so if people like it, there are more books that you can go get. And second, I've made enough money off of it that it's okay to experiment with it, and if I make some money off of it, great, and if not, that's fine too. And it was kind of the first time on a big scale that they'd done a humble bundle with literature stuff. They did a music one went on poems and games and all that other stuff. And it went very well. We sold 80,000 bundles. We got like 1.2 or 1.8. It was a lot of money raised. And some of it went to the authors, some of it went to Humble Bundle. But a big chunk of it went to EFF, Child's Play, and the SIFLA, because I'm the president of Science Fiction Fantasy Writers America. We have an emergency medical fund for writers, because strangely enough, in this country,
It's so weird. You would think that we were a very poor country.
because we don't have your basic sort of medical insurance just as red. So, but strangely enough, also strangely enough,
Right, for just getting sick. Fuck those guys.
and strangely enough, a lot of authors are not, building party people. They spend most of their time indoors, this far away from a computer screen, no typewriters, yeah, and just basically are all hunched and eat nothing but junk food and Diet Cola. So, frankly. So frankly, there's a lot of them without insurance, and every once in a while one of them gets into a jam, and that's where the Civil Medical Fund goes in. And as a result of that, I think it went evenly distributed pretty much. We ended up raising about $165,000 total for the medical fund, and then also for similar amounts for EFF and for Child's Play. So that's great.
And I think the Humble Indie Bundle it's such a great idea, and it completely obliterates the myth that you have to lock things down with DRM, that you have to make it difficult for people to interact with the things that they've purchased, that you have to make the assumption that your audience is full of criminals, that you have to make it difficult for people to get your stuff. And the Humble Bundle does such an incredibly great job of getting creative works in front of people for minimal effort while doing incredible good. They've asked me if I will have some of my books in a future Humble Bundle, and I typed yes so fast that I set my keyboard on fire. It's really funny. Too good at sci-fi. Question from the middle of the room. Yes, sir.
Are you going to do the season 7 of The Guild, and will you reprise your role as Fox?
I'm not in charge of that decision. That's a Felicia Day question, but I've done enough panels with her to know what her answer is. She's pretty much finished with The Guild. The story arc has, don't be sad, be happy. It means that she can do something new and have several seasons of something new that's great. She loved it and has pretty much told the story that needs to be told. And I don't know, we've talked about what we do with Fox. We were kicking around the idea of doing an Axis of Anarchy show where the Axis of Anarchy were sort of they were the heroes from their point of view. But we sort of feel like Fox's story has been told, and what was left untold we did in the comic that we wrote. So we feel like it's kind of a story that's run its course.
The hardest thing for both writers and for fans is just to let shit go. Yeah. Because sometimes you do. It's like, we want more. It's like, no, that's it. Snap. It's done. You gotta cherish what it was and everything that it could. But time to let it go. Time to find something else.
I'm really glad that you waited to do the Human Division, that you did it the way that you did.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because it lets us go back to that universe in a way that's clearly not just hey fans, I'm going to turn you upside down and shake the money out.
Yeah. Now, I'm a very big believer that you don't go back to something if you feel like you've said everything that you need to say in that particular universe or anything else. That said, they did deliver a big box of money. But the reason we went back to it was because I finally was like, I know how to get back into that universe. This is a story I want to tell, but it was 5 years of I'm done. And I'm not going to go back and use the same people. I'm not going to go back and use the same circumstances. Because we all know people, you can tell when people are grinding shit out, right? You know, where you get to the point where you're like, well, you know, I'll buy the new book, but really the first, you know, 2 were best, and I don't want to be that guy. I don't have to be that guy. And you shouldn't want me to be that guy, or you to be that guy.
No, don't be that guy.
Don't be that guy.
Oh yes, you sitting next to John Scalzi. I have a question.
Yes. If that is your real name.
This is a subject this is an idea that a couple of guys I know and I've been kicking around for a while, and I'm interested to get your input on it.
All right.
I had this idea to get a few creators together and build a world, like an open source world with sort of like maybe some basic rules of it. Like if it's a zombie world, it's like here's how the zombie disease works. Or if it's a space world, it's like these are the basics of the Space Federation world or whatever. And these are like the 12 kind of main characters that we think live in this world. Then the entire thing is released as a Creative Commons licensed background world for people to play around in, like it's their own open source world they can do anything with. Do you think that's a thing that makes sense from a professional writer standpoint? And the reason I started thinking about it was when you wrote about the Amazon Worlds thing, which I think the TLDR on that is great deal for Amazon, shit deal for everyone else in the world.
Sure.
So I'm curious to know what you think about, like, do you think that's a thing that would be attractive to professional writers to sit down and just go like, here, nerds, we built you a thing, go play it, have fun in the sandbox.
Well, I think it depends. But
Minecraft, right?
Minecraft. Yeah. Well, no, I think it depends on which professionals you are approaching and what their schedules are and everything else like that, and what and whether they feel like everything needs to be locked down or it doesn't. Because when it comes right down to it, one of the reasons that people do fan writing is because they love it. They love those worlds so much that they just can't wait. It's the methadone. They want it. They create the methadone from the heroin that is the canonical stuff. Now, what this is going to be.
Scared of the dark.
And they were never seen.
This room is a murder.
Pants are still on. It wasn't for lack of try.
I had to set that up 24 hours ago. And I got nothing out of it.
That's what she said.
I've written fan fiction once.
Right.
And it was at the end. I was playing the game. I was playing Red Dead Redemption.
Sure.
And I loved it. The thing about the game, the ending left a really important character thing unresolved for me.
Yeah.
So I wrote the story that would resolve it for me.
Yeah.
Because I needed to do that.
Right.
And it was really fun, and I really enjoyed it. And because I was writing it as like fan fiction, it's like when I wrote the Unicorn Princess Kitten story.
Right.
I was just having so much fun, just doing it. That
Right.
I was like, this isn't real writing. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And it ended up being really good and really satisfying and really fun.
Yeah.
Which is how I have now started approaching everything. It's not like every piece must be perfect.
Right.
Then I found that there's actually a mission in the game that they don't do a good job of showing you.
Right.
And that mission actually does kind of do exactly what my fan fiction did.
Yeah, but you did it better.
But I did it way better.
Here's the thing I would actually suggest, if you're honestly want to do something like this, is that you get a group of 5 or 6 people that you really want to have do this thing. You create the universe, you create a collection, an anthology of this shared world that has the professional authors, have that be a professional product for sale, but then take the background all the world, all the basic characters, all that sort of stuff, and then just Creative Commons it, and then say, now you guys take it from here.
Yeah.
But you got to get, the essential thing about fanfiction is that it's something that people love so much and that they want to be part of. If you just set up all the rules, then it kind of is a little bit, you kind of have to get people pushing in the right direction. And then they will take it from there and they'll do amazing things that you would not have even imagined. You'll come back and you go, this is a cool world. I'm glad I built it for them to play. So that's what I would suggest that you would do.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome. I'm glad to help. That'll be $65.99. Other questions? Over here. Yes, Philip.
Can I pay you in Reddit karma? I am very wealthy.
How does it feel sitting in front of your doppelganger?
It's strange, but also good. Yes, Em. Turn up. Shorts and t-shirts everywhere. Like that's my uniform.
That's your thing.
But today I sort of, I got.
You dressed up.
Sure.
I'm glad you dressed up for me. I didn't dress up for you. Over here. Patty, are you just waving?
She's waving and blowing you a kiss.
That's my publicist. Say hi to Patty.
Hi, Patty! All right, what about like way far over here, like Kissy? Yep.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so, well, I've been reading lots of colonies while I've been waiting for mine here. I know you were talking about the humble and before, and I know yesterday you said you would make sure you never to write something. Would you consider doing a release of the book?
You can be a little.
Like the brand new first release?
Oh, you know what? I've actually been talking to Humble Bundle about that, about doing an original book and releasing it. But as far as it goes, I would still have to write it, and I have a couple books under contract. But I think it's perfectly a good idea. And now that I've just actually said it out loud, someone will beat me to it. So pretend I never said that.
I already.
Damn you!
I did something like that. I wrote about a 15,000 word story. I'm still learning how to write longer form.
Sure.
It's sort of like I'm a pretty good sprinter and I'm learning how to do marathons, and it's a different set of skill set. But I wrote a short story called Hunter, and I was going to try Thank You, and I'm guessing you liked it. And I was going to, and I finished it, and I was like, well, what should I do with this? And I thought about it, and I thought if I tried to take it to a publisher or a magazine or whatever at the rate that I think I can probably get, I'd be very, very happy to get like between $300 and $500 for this. But I'm working on establishing myself as a fiction writer, so I'm just going to put it on my website that has, everything else I've ever done. So hopefully people come and look at it, and sort of like once they're in the store, then maybe they'll grab some other things. And I just put it up there, and I was like, look, pay what you want, even the low price of free. And in the span of about 36 hours, my PayPal account had like close to $5,000 in it.
Oh, wow.
And that was like $3, $5, $10 at a time.
Yeah.
And the long tail of that is that every few days somebody pays $4 for it.
Yeah.
And it's great, and I love it. And people ask me, the most frequently asked question at a con is, are you going to write more in that universe? So I think it's a great idea.
Yeah. And let me address the writing for free thing. I write for free all the time. I write on my blog. I'll write a short story, and I don't want to bother shipping it around because really that's just a drag. So I'll put it up on my website, or I'll do other things. The important thing is that when I'm writing for others, I always ask what's in it for me, because at the end of the day, this is my day job, right?
Yeah, time you spend writing for another person is time you're not spending writing for you.
Exactly. So you have to do this sort of economic sort of thing. But there is lots of things that you can do for, like when we did the Clash of the Geeks thing. I took no money for that. I made sure I paid all the other writers, but I took no money for that because I was the editor and I went straight for the Lupus Foundation. There are other things that I'll do where I will take a reduced fee or no fee at all because I feel, in my personal opinion, that it's worth it to do it. However, the default should always be someone else is paying. Now, it doesn't always mean that you have to pay to read it. Like when I write something on Tor.com or Subterranean Press, their website, you can read it for free, but I end up getting paid. And I think that's a really important thing to do because people are just so easy to devalue writing or any creative thing. They're like, oh, well, it doesn't take you that long to do, so clearly, it shouldn't be worth that much. And you're like, excuse me, you pay me.
Something that to me is unbelievably insulting and enraging about a person saying to a business person saying to a creative person, essentially, you should be very grateful that someone wants to look at the little thing that you're doing.
Yeah.
And when someone said, when you do a great thing and someone goes, you have too much time on your hands. No, I have exactly the right amount of time on my hands because I can make this thing. And it's really important for creative people and for freelancers and for those of us that are still trying to make our way into whatever it is, whether it's writing, photography, music, or whatever. It's very important to remember that the thing you make is valuable and it matters and it is worthy and it is worth something to someone. And when some person comes along with some really great deal to get you a ton of exposure, that person can fuck themselves.
You're on my soapbox.
It's just an important thing, I think it's really important for creative people to remember. What you do is valuable.
Yeah.
And people are going to be constantly trying to tell you that it's not valuable because they know it's valuable and they just want to get rich on your back. And that's not okay.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, the other simple fact of the matter is I'm a small business owner.
Sure.
I'm like 5'7". But, the fact of the matter is this is my business. And, your plumber won't work for free. The guy who repairs your car won't work for free. I'm not going to work for free either. Let's do one last question.
Holding his hand.
All right, make it an excellent question because then I think we're going to close up.
Okay, on that note, how do you guys feel about piracy and how it kind of does market yourself better?
The way that I feel about piracy is, quite honestly, I would prefer to pay for what I write because mortgage, child, all that sort of stuff. At the end of the day, I get a lot of people who come up with a big stack of books, for me to sign. It's like, I got the first one on tour. And my feeling about that is, quite honestly, the first time you read anybody, you kind of want to try them out, which is one of the reasons if you go to my website, I have the Scalzi Creative Sampler with all this stuff there. There are going to be some people who are going to pirate just because they're haha, I'm a pirate, screw you. Those people are just terrible people.
Well, they're also never going to buy stuff.
And they're never going to buy stuff anyway, so you don't worry about them. The other people are people who try it and then they eventually understand that this is what we do for a living, and I think people own up to it. I mean, I always say when I was a kid, I used to tape stuff off the radio, right? Because I was poor. And then later on, my friends and I would make mixtapes and we'd trade them for each other. And then I started working, and then I started paying for stuff because I could, level up, so achievement. And then I also began to recognize that there was a person on the other end of the stuff. I mean, even now, I get like 40 books a week sent to me for free. I still go to a bookstore and I buy my friends' books. And the reason I do that is because they're my friends and they deserve my money. And I think the further you go along with this, as you become an adult, you realize that if you want the good stuff from Will, if you want the good stuff from me, if you want the good stuff from any writer or creator, then you put up the money. We'll find new and exciting ways to get it to you. Some of us will let you pay what you want. Some of us will give it to you for a low price. Some of us will make special packages that you'll pay ridiculous sums of money for a t-shirt and a nice cardboard box. But whatever it is that we end up doing, at the end of the day, we're saying, this is something that our time, our love, everything, what's it worth to you? And your answer is what you will pay.
I also sort of view piracy as a customer service problem.
Yeah.
That if a company makes it easy for me to get the thing that I want,
yes,
and it makes it easy for them to shut up and take my money,
yep,
then shut up and take my money.
Yep.
If I've already paid for a thing, I bought something off of iTunes and then I tried to put it onto my iPad when I was in Canada, and they were like, you're in Canada, you can't do this. Well, hey, guess what? The Pirate Bay says I can. Because that's just stupid.
Yeah. And buy it once, then you're done.
Yeah. Or if you purchase a game and the internet goes out in your house and you can't authenticate on the game server, oh, well, guess what I'm downloading as soon as my internet comes back on, because F you for trying to cripple this game. And I just think that it comes down to that. I don't believe the stories that the MP2A and RI2A tried to tell us of this generation of content feeds, it just doesn't exist. It has not been borne out. And there's enough people, I think, that understand, like, look, man, just make it easy for people to give you money in exchange for the thing that you've created. They're going to do that.
Right. I believe strongly that creators do have a right to control what they have. That they should be able to set the price and they say this is fair, and people should be able to say, well, no, that's too much, I don't want to pay for that, or that's fair, I would buy it. It's important that creators have those rights. That said, personally speaking, when someone says, I pirated your novel, what I say is, well, I hope you liked it enough at the end to decide to go pay for it.
Yeah. Every now and then I get something sent to me at PayPal with this note that's like,
it's a guilty note. Sorry.
I really wanted to have just a geek, but I couldn't find it. And I just figured being so cute, I just want to use $20.
I'll get the emails where people say, I'm in Australia. I pirated the book because I can't find it in the bookstore. How do I pay? And my response generally to this thing is, find a local literacy charity. Give the money you would give to me to some kids so that they can read a book and read a book. So if you pirated something from me, literacy charity.
Or also